Imagine you've decided that starting today, you'll stop mindlessly scrolling through your phone. You wake up motivated and promise yourself, today will be different. Yet a few hours later, you catch yourself scrolling through social media again without even realizing it. Why does this happen? Why is it so difficult to break habits, even when we know they're wasting our time or hurting us? The answer lies deep inside the brain. One of the brain's main jobs is to conserve energy. Every day, we make thousands of decisions, and constantly thinking about each one would be exhausting. To save energy, the brain turns repeated behaviors into automatic routines. This process is largely controlled by a region called the basal ganglia. Think about learning to ride a bicycle. At first, every movement requires attention, balancing, steering, and pedaling. But after enough practice, you can ride without consciously thinking about it. The behavior has become a habit. The same thing happens with unhealthy habits. Every time you check your phone when you're bored, eat junk food when stressed, or procrastinate when facing a difficult task, your brain strengthens a specific neural pathway. Over time, that pathway becomes faster and more automatic. Scientists call this process the habit loop. It consists of three parts: cue, routine, and reward. First comes the cue, a trigger such as boredom, stress, or the sound of a notification. Next comes the routine, the behavior itself, like opening an app or grabbing a snack. Finally comes the reward, the temporary pleasure, relief, or satisfaction you experience. Behind this reward system is a powerful brain chemical called dopamine. Dopamine helps the brain learn what behaviors are worth repeating. Whenever a behavior produces a rewarding feeling, dopamine encourages the brain to remember it and do it again in the future. As a result, every repetition strengthens the habit. This is why breaking a habit often feels like an uphill battle. You're not simply fighting a behavior. You're challenging a neural pathway that may have been reinforced hundreds or even thousands of times over the years. But does that mean bad habits are impossible to break? Not at all. Modern neuroscience shows that the brain can change throughout life. This ability is known as neuroplasticity, the brain's capacity to form new neural connections and weaken old ones. However, there's an important catch. Most people try to erase a habit completely, but the brain is much better at replacing habits than deleting them. For example, if you usually check your phone whenever work becomes stressful, simply telling yourself, "I won't check my phone," may not work. The brain still seeks relief from stress. But if you replace that behavior with a short walk, a glass of water, or a few deep breaths, a new habit can gradually take the old habit's place. Researchers have found that one of the most effective ways to change a habit is to identify the cue and replace the routine while keeping a similar reward. Instead of fighting the urge directly, you redirect it. Another reason habits are difficult to break is that the brain prefers immediate rewards. Watching entertaining videos provides instant pleasure, while reading a book or exercising offers benefits that may not appear until weeks or months later. Naturally, the brain is drawn toward what feels rewarding right now. That's why successful habit change often depends less on willpower and more on environment. If you want to use your phone less, keep it out of reach. If you want to eat healthier, make nutritious foods easy to access and remove temptations from sight. In the end, habits are hard to break because the brain isn't trying to sabotage you. It's trying to be efficient. Repeated behaviors become familiar, and the brain treats familiar actions as safe and predictable. So the next time you fall back into an old habit, remember that it's a normal part of how the brain works. Lasting change doesn't happen overnight. It happens through small, consistent actions that slowly build new pathways in the brain. Because habits aren't formed in a day, and they aren't broken in a day either. But every small step forward is helping your brain create a better future. Subscribe Brain Door for more informative videos.